Hi, everyone. So just about the mute or unmuting, I just stood up because of the background noise, but whenever you have a question or you have any input, just please feel free to shout. Okay. Oh, we're actually, it's a few people joining. Hi, Frank. Okay, again, hi. So today's topic of the golden age and the bright future. So today we're actually talking a bit more about the history and also, of course, a bit an outlook on the future. I'm really excited to have you three, Höhnflug, Allan McLoud and Jem Elmar on this talk today. And of course, everybody else joining us. So everybody who has a question, please feel free to just write in the chat, or you can also make this hand sign, or just feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Towards the end of the talk, we will have some spare time for questions anyway. All right. So, Gaby. Okay, we are going to start with our first DJ, producer, whatever, event organizer, Höhnflug, Michi. So we're starting in Switzerland, in Zurich, actually, born in Zurich and inspired a lot in the mountains. Yes, Höhnflug. Who are you and how did you get into music? We're going to start a bit about this topic first with everybody, and then we can expand either to the past or the future. Okay.
Hi all. Yes, how Olivia told, I grew up in Zurich, and normally I work in a company of road builders. That's my job, and music is my big hobby, and I love it, to listening and to be a DJ or producing music. And apart from the music, I like to do sports, and I go hiking in the mountains or snowboarding like you, Bruno. I have two boys. They are 9 and 7 years old. 2 hours ago, they were playing here with my synthesizer. Papi, can we do some music? And I was cooking our dinner. Yes. And so about my music history, I grew up in a very musical family. My parents are musicians, and they are playing some Swiss folk music with something like a small accordion, this Schweizer Örgeli. And I was interested when I was 4 years old. I was interested by making music like my parents, and I could learn my first instrument when I was 4 years. That was this small guitar, because the normal guitar was too big for me, and I think it's called ukulele.
Yeah.
Stupid name, but
yes.
And then with when I was 6 years, I learned the piano. With 8 years, I learned an accordion, because my parents were playing always in some groups with other friends together, making music, and I was interested by this. And 5 years later, when I was 13 years, I was interested to play with my parents, with my family, because they were playing always this little small accordion, and I can play with them when I learn this bass violin, this big one, boom boom bass. But in the same time, in Zurich was an upcoming event called Street Parade. I've seen that in the television, and I was very impressed by that.
Which one
And
was the very first one?
sorry,
The very first one?
when I was going to the Street Parade,
When was it when you saw it on the television? The first
93,
one?
93.
Okay.
And yes, it was very interesting for me, this electronic music. The first acts I know was Felix, U96, Ushura, Westbam. So I learned something new for me, new music. And I was always, there were some television, how to say that? Sorry.
Like shows or?
Like shows, yes, television shows on MTV or Viva, how is playing a DJ.
Mhm.
And I was interested to learn that. And
But just like that, I mean, it's such a different kind of music from what you came from. You came from this
yes,
acoustic, traditional music, and all of a sudden you got hooked by the electronic music. How did that change or was it for you just a different kind of music, or how did your parents react to that? I mean, it's just like so different, right?
oh, that's a little difficult because first, so 1992, when I was listening some techno music, first I thought, what noises are that? Only noise. And first I don't know the melody parts from techno music. And then later when I was listening to Das Boot from U96, and my dad was coming to my room and, hey, please take your bass away. It's too loud. And I can't listening without bass. What's up? My dad was not very happy about that, but it was my new music, and I was so interested by it. Would like to learn it. Would like to listening. And my first tape record I've done when I had a mixer and a box, and I put my little recorder in front to the box. I push record and record what's coming out of the box. It's so stupid. It was only noise. It was not you can't listening anything.
How things start. And then you just practice yourself at home. And how did you, I mean, was it something that you got into by the clubs or the parties, and then you just started practicing? Or how did you find the things? How did you get inspired? And
first, so in 95, I tried to organize some events in my school with two other friends, and we played something like DJs, but we don't know how to work it. But later, when I learned my job, when I earn money, so I could buy some mixers and turntables. And so in 98, I was always learning to mixing and have my own style for mixing two tracks together.
Mhm.
And I think it was so around 2001, I played first time at Street Parade, but not on a Love Mobile. It was on a little stage, a part of the parade. And yes, it was always a little bit more in clubs or in radio shows. I played some sets. Yes.
And then you started later on. You started to produce your own music. So that's
A little much later. Yes.
Yes.
2015. I decided to produce music by myself. And yes, Bruno was helping me so many things. I learned very much from him. And the first one, I tried to remix the original track from Bruno, Whirlpool. And it was I was so happy when I I released my first track. I never thought that I can do that. And then later I remixed some tracks, and 2018 I released my first own track, Bliss. Yes, and no, 19. It was 19. And last year I had my release on Black Hole. That was a big thing for me.
Sure.
And yes,
Nice.
I don't know. My way goes on.
Yes, of course it does. Thank you. All right. So I think we're going to Germany at this point. To Rolf, you have to unmute yourself. Yes. So welcome, Rolf or Cem Elmar. I can never know how to call you. So yeah, one part together with Mark Spoon, you were Jam and Spoon, of course, we all know you.
That's true.
I think you had your first real hit in '92, right, with Stella? And
yeah.
I think
it
that's
was in 91.
In '91. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I don't know.
I look it up. Yeah, but then the interesting thing, I hope it's true, was that 2 years later, when Right Into in the Night came out, it was actually a bonus track from the Follow Me was actually a bonus track on it, right? And then it became one of the greatest hits ever. So interesting story about that as well. Yeah. Let's just talk about you a little bit. How do you came to all of this? What did you get into music in general?
Okay, well, when Höhnflug was telling us about his musical roots, some things were quite similar to me, and yeah. Also, we weren't really musicians, but my parents had the idea that we should listen to classical music always on a Sunday afternoon. And yes, so it was kind of a thing we had in our family, that we were listening all together, like 4 of us were listening to classical music. And but then as I grow older, I discovered that there was also some other styles of music, like rock music, electric guitars, and something that would make a hell of a noise. And I think it was when I was 9 when I first had the chance to listen to Jimi Hendrix. And I exactly knew and remember, I remember which track it was. It was like Voodoo Child. And the B side, it was All Along the Watchtower. And this was like the ignition of my musicianhood. It's that's, I can really say that it's definitely true. I think a lot of people are referring to Jimi Hendrix, of course, by it might sound like a cliche, but in my place, it was really true. And then I listened to Deep Purple and John McLaughlin and all these guitar heroes, and I started practicing guitar really intensely. I think when I was like 16, 18, I practiced like 8 hours per day. And, you know, all the other teenagers were going to parties and did this turning the bottles, and you know, whoever the bottle was pointing to, they get a, you know, they go on kissing, and they say, hey, come on, let's go to this party. We do the Flaschendrehen, we called it. And I was never interested. They all thought I was completely boring, you know, because I never joined the party. But I spent the time practicing guitar. And so, but later on, as you know, I switched to synthesizers and bought my first studio system, which is still here in my studio, the System 700. And I made like electronic music compositions with noises, you know, that I mixed together on a four-track audio recorder. And yeah, then my equipment park grew, and then I started working as a studio musician. You could hire Cem Elmar for like 500 Deutsche Mark.
And, for what? For one track, or what was that?
Yeah, well, whatever studio job you had. I mean, right. If there was like a production going on and you need some synthesizers, you could call my just pick up my telephone number, call, and you know, come on to the studio. And yes, I would try to play like anything, you know, that they were desiring. And I had the PPG wave term back at that time, which was quite an extraordinary instrument and massively expensive. And I think I bought it used, but I think if you would bought it like new, I think you had to spend like 30,000 Deutschmarks, and which was a hell of a amount back at that time. And so because of this equipment, I had a few jobs. And then Mark Spoon actually was hiring me for in remix. And so this was the beginning. Yeah, that was the birth of Jam and Spoon. I remember exactly when he walked into the door. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. You know, with some people you feel an immediate connection. And I could really say, you know, when he walked in, you know, crazy he was, 2 hours late. There was something like a basic understanding. And he carried a few records, brought some records with him, and turned on the record player. Can you sample this and that? And when he said that, I already sampled it because I had, you know, made the connections, and I was always like, as he was playing the records, I was always sampling at the same time. And so I had everything like ready to play. And he was like, oh, wow. And that was really nice. And yeah, from this point on, we worked together. Dr. Alban remixes, you know, they're actually, back at these times, the remix of a good record could sell like 250,000 copies, you know, even the remix was doing gold. And yeah. I think the original was double platinum or something. But yes, I mean, this was really serious amounts of sales, and it was really fun and a great start. And then we had the offer to do Age of Love remix by a small label in London called React. And yeah, bang, this was the ignition of Jam and Spoon. Yeah.
Wow.
What do you want to know? Shall I go on?
Well, what do the others think? I mean, it's. I always say it's not an interview. It's a talk between the three or the four of us. So yeah, I think it's just really interesting to just first know about where does everybody come from. And oh, sorry, can you guys stay muted, please? Oh no, sorry, now I muted you. Sorry, this is going the wrong way. It's so nice here. I can't see the person.
What's that cat?
No, it's fine, I think. Okay, sorry. No, yeah, the idea was just to give a first background session on how it all started.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting from every.
To be honest, I think it still starts every day. When I walk into the studio, it's for me like always a new start. And there is no really like, okay, at that point it started, you know, every day when I walk into my studio, it starts from zero. It's like a writer that has like an empty white sheet of paper in front of him or her, and trying to, you know, find a story or something. And we try to find musical stories. We try to find atmospheres, feelings, something that's beyond speech, something beyond language, like the normal language, you know. We try to invent something that hit the people in a very, very personal spot in their inner worlds. And I think, you know, this is something that you have to learn from zero every day, even though you have like 20 years of experience. You know, this is nothing when you start all over and trying to find a new track.
Was this also at the very beginning? Like,
sorry?
Did you have that in the very beginning as well? Like this goal to touch people at a certain stage, or how do you, I mean, I think electronic music is very different from, you know, every other kind of music, especially back then, maybe not so much nowadays. But was it from the start, has it been the goal for you to really go that way because of that, because you saw your chance to, yeah, kind of touch people in that?
Yes. Sure, because I think music always comes to life when it has some emotional content. If you can reach the people about some sound, or maybe like atmosphere or a groove, or even something that is very, very reduced, but somehow you have to touch the people, the people's soul, let's say, let's put it like this, which is not quite true, but you know, something has to happen with the people, otherwise it's useless. Or the job is not done well. So yeah, when I began, and I was listening to Art of Noise, for example, you know, Moments in Love, you know, or no, Moments in Love, no, what it was the title of this very, very famous Art of Noise title? I can't remember. It's like something in love, you know, and it was this was hitting me so much, you know. Also the tracks from Tangerine Dream, and you know, I was really into electronic sounds, and this touched me in a way. And I tried to when I try to make music, I try to always create something like this, that you hit or reach the people in a certain kind of way. Of course, as I'm a DJ now, I'm trying to make it work on the dance floor. But when I really began at that time, I was completely naive. I just did tracks, you know, the way I was, which was actually easier than today, because today I'm, you know, my mind and all my remembrance, you know, all the things that I remember come into play, which makes it sometimes really, really complicated.
Okay. All right. So then, next one, Allan McLoud.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that place name. Where you were born, something with lost something in Scotland. You can do it yourself.
Okay, Scottish for beginners. It's a place called Loch Gilphead. It's and I am a Highlander. It's the South Highlands. So yeah, that's where I was born. And it's not a place where you think you would get inspiration for electronic music, but yeah, it did. Yeah, for me, it kind of started really early with the music, because my father, he wasn't musical, but he always listened to music, and I always remembered. And my father was a mechanic, and he always had 8-track tapes in the car, and then he would listen to stuff like Johnny Cash and all this kind of stuff, and that was a huge thing for me. The country music that he was into. So in school, I wanted to learn instruments, but I wasn't very good at it. My first instrument I think I tried to play was the flute. And then I think I tried the trumpet, and then I got kicked out of the school band because I dropped the trumpet and it broke. So they kicked me out of the school band. But and I was listening to all different types of music at the time, because my father always listened to different types of music. Like Rolf as well, guitar influence. People like Gary Moore, Thin Lizzy. My father would listen to stuff like Thin Lizzy, and that was quite an influence for me as well. So I wanted to learn to play the guitar. So and my father bought me a guitar and amp. And then I had a little cassette player, and I would have all these tapes with all the different types of music on, but it wasn't loud enough. So I would start pulling all the wires and try and get the cassette player to run through the guitar amp so that it would be louder. And I managed to get it to work. My parents went crazy, so my father took my guitar amp away from me. But yeah, and that's when it. I mean, my first encounter with electronic sounds was actually listening to The Who, and that was and it was The Who's next album. I think it was Barbara Riley with it was an ARP 2600, I think it was, they used on that, and that was my first encounter with electronic music. But I didn't understand it, and I didn't know where it came from. So I was still sort of kind of heavily into. Growing up in the UK, we had all the mod sound, ska sound, things like the Selector, Madness, and all that kind of stuff. I was into that as well. But it was still, guitars was still the thing that were doing it for me. And then I can't remember what it was. I saw there was a live performance, and then there was this huge synthesizer rig on the stage. And then the guy just touched the keys, and that was it for me. It was like, wow, what is this? And then Gary Newman, Tubeway Army. I saw that for the first time on TV, Our Friends Electric. And that was it. That changed everything for me for music. But I still didn't understand how this music was made. And then I then joined the army at 16. I left home quite early, joined the army at 16. So I had a bit of a break from music. And then sort of at the age of 16, then I was getting into, I don't know, Rolf, if you remember this, Pete Tong's Essential Mix.
Yeah.
I was getting tapes of that sent over to me, because I was then based in Germany with the British Army, and they were a couple of guys were sending me over tapes of this. And it was kind of sort of the breakbeat sound at that time, a bit like Prodigy stuff and all of that. So I was still really fascinated with music, and then I got the opportunity to DJ while I was in the army for the officers, doing their parties, and it was playing party music, stuff like Blues Brothers, all the drink 20 beers, get drunk, and start shouting all the lyrics sort of music. And then in the town where I was based in Germany, there was a disco. It wasn't a club, it was a disco. And it was called Sir Henry. And they wanted, there was only one night a week where the soldiers were allowed in. Because at the weekends they wouldn't let us in because there was too many fights. So it was a Wednesday night, and they wanted somebody to DJ. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I got free drinks for doing it. And it was playing sort of the same sort of stuff. But I would always try, at that time I then started to buy vinyl as well. And then I would try and sort of sneak in the odd track that I would hear on Pete Tong's Essential Mix, but they got sick of it and then kicked me out. And then I met a couple of guys. It was also a couple of Brit guys. They were living with the mother. They were also heavily into music, and they had a kind of sort of it wasn't a studio. It was just kind of a sort of an old, I think it was an Akai 612 sampler where you could sample about 2 or 3 seconds. and then they had a Commodore C64. And they would do music with that, with kind of sort of silly samples. So I would hang around with these guys, and then I realized that you could actually with this piece of equipment, and it was an AMAX sampler. I bought this thing because I realized that you could actually record, small sections of songs, stick it all together, and then you would have a track. And that's kind of how it started for me. But
Wow.
but believe it or not, my first production was actually a hip hop production.
That's what I read about you.
Yeah.
Jazz inspired hip hop, right?
Yes, that was my first 2 years that I was started making music. It was hip hop, and I had these guys. I had a DJ he's now a film producer, and then we had this African guy doing the rap. And he had great lyrics, but he couldn't rap. But we're hanging about with people like Fettes Broad, who else? Absolute Beginner, Jan Delay. These kind of people were hanging around with them. So that was my first steps into music. And my first release, I actually paid for it myself. I got a loan because at that time I was then out of the army. And I got a loan on my salary from the place where I was working to buy some more equipment, and then to pay for our first vinyl, where we pressed 500 copies, and then we would sell the vinyl at our live concerts. Yeah, that's how I basically got into music.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
But then, I mean, for that hip hop era of yours, that was just it, or did you continue on that?
No, because I actually never wanted to do hip hop.
Yeah.
But it was kind of sort of fun making music out of other music, being influenced from other music, especially from jazz music, on jazz music on the Blue Note label. And you would sample small sections of that and put some hip hop beats under it. And then you would have a guy on record deck scratching to it. And it was quite interesting to do it, but it didn't fulfill me in any way. And I wasn't passionate about it. But at the same time, I'd got my hands on a TR-909 and a 303. So, and the music that I was wanting to do was kind of sort of the early acid sound. That's kind of sort of the direction I was trying to go in. But where I was living at the time, you didn't have any opportunities to do it. So it was quite a struggle. Because at that time, techno was kind of sort of, acid sound and that was kind of not popular in Germany. But I wasn't aware of any other music scene in Germany at the time. For example, in Frankfurt, it was already ongoing, but I was living in North Germany, so sort of between Frankfurt and Hamburg, and there wasn't much going on in that area for the techno sound that came. It came a little bit later. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How did you guys? I mean, you all mentioned, this kind of vinyl records tradition. Of course, I mean, it was what it was then, right? I mean, everybody used it and had to use it. I sometimes ask myself the question about the importance or the influence that record stores had at the time, and how that has changed until now. I mean, we still have record shops, but we don't have every track pressed on vinyl, obviously. So has this, I mean, did the shift from, let's say, the record store to Beatport also happen through social media? Do you get, I mean, how do you get this experience you had in the record store, or what was it? You came in there, you got inspired, I would say, or I assume. Can you tell us a little bit on that, maybe, everybody? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
it's different for everybody, but
yeah, it used to be, every week you would love that would be the highlight of the week. When I then did start my proper DJ career, the highlight of the week was actually going vinyl shopping, and you would bump into all the other local DJs. You would bump into them there, and it would be who's the first to get to the shop to get the best of the pick. because the shop would only get, say, 5 or 6 copies from a certain track. Yeah, so it was always, we would actually be at the shop before the doors would open, so you're the first one in to get the best vinyl. So yeah, it was the vinyl shops in the days. I know Delirium in Frankfurt had a huge influence on the Frankfurt scene. Yeah, and it's the same also. Any record shop in the big cities, that was the central point of everything, because the DJs would all meet there, and you know, you would everybody would you would discuss with each other on, oh, have you heard this one, have you heard that one, you know, and it was a huge part of the culture at that time, and it's missing now, because now you just sit at home, go into Beatport or wherever, and you just go through the tracks and, oh yeah, that's good, no, that's shit, no, that's good, that's shit, but you don't communicate with anybody. So it's
the same everywhere. Michi, is that Höhnflug? Is that it? Can you compare that to Zurich, for example, as well? I just remember you told me as well that you had the same about what Allan said, like going to the record store and yeah.
Yes, it was always funny to visit the record stores. First, I was in '96 in my first record store in it was calling DJ Beat, and I know a DJ from Switzerland, DJ Simple, but I don't know that he was working there. And I was there, and I asked him, "Are you DJ Simple? Wow!" and I bought my first vinyls in his store, and it was always lovely to visit him, because he was always prepare some vinyl stuff for me. What could he was thinking always, what could he love, and it was always very nice that something was prepared for you. And this was I was really a small fish in Zurich, and I don't know every DJ, but when I was in the store, I always have seen some acts like DJ Dream or Energy, and in my first time, it was always a big thing to see them there.
Yeah, because you don't see them always only in clubs or
on the stage, stage, and
yeah.
I was first in my first time. I was a raver, and I've seen the acts on the stage, and later we met us in the stores, and we had some talks, and it was always funny. Yes, and today, yes, I was buying vinyl records until 2009 around, and then was when in the clubs the turntables had some issues, and it was not so funny to play with vinyl in the clubs, and I changed to MP3. I was going to Beatport and burning some CDs, and yeah, and play with the CD first, and later only with a USB stick like every others.
Then he changed totally. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. I don't know what it is like for you as artists, but probably, as Allan said, something is missing from that. Yeah, I can imagine. All right.
Yeah, but it's electronic music.
Yeah,
electronic music speaks for electronic in the future, no? No.
Yeah.
Of course, no. I mean, not because of the medium, but but because of the experience and the exchange of thoughts and talking to each other, and
yeah, the social part of it is missing. Yeah,
that's right. Yes.
Maybe we should do Beatport parties.
They started with live streams, so maybe they can. Yeah.
Let's go MP3 shopping together and do a Beatport party.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
just came to my mind that Alan and Rolf, actually, you guys share a Frankfurt experience together, right?
Dorian Gray.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
talking about influential clubs. I think the Dorian Gray, Omen, so those Frankfurt clubs have really been of influence as well. And yeah, I was excited to talk about that as well. Maybe you too.
Well, I think Rolf knows Dorian Gray before me, so I think you should start on this one.
Well, the thing is, some clubs were famous and some clubs were influential. Maybe they were famous too, but some clubs were really influential for whatever reason. I mean, you could be like the people who went there, the concept, whatever it was. But the Dorian Gray is one of those clubs that had a strong impact on the scene, for sure. There was a lot of really great DJs working there. I worked with two of them, DJ Dark and Mark Spoon. And there was also Sven Feth and Thorsten Fensler from Culture Beat, who had like a worldwide #1 record just at that time when he passed away, sadly. And yeah, there was, you know, the whole of Germany, even I think even the UK, you know, even London and other parts of Europe were looking on Frankfurt for a certain period of time, because you know, you have to imagine that you know, Electrica Salsa was a big hit that came out of Frankfurt. 16-bit, Where Are You was a big hit that came out of Frankfurt. And you know, Dance to Trance, Power of American Natives came from Frankfurt. Snap a bit later on, Culture Beat, and you know, you name it. There was, and they more or less had their birth in the Dorian Gray. I mean, Michael Münzing, one of the co-founders of Snap, was DJing at the Music Hall, which was maybe the first bigger club in Frankfurt among the Dorian Gray. And so it was the whole scene was somehow, the chemistry was cooking, and there was a kind of an atmosphere that was very, very exciting. And I'm very, very happy and feeling blessed that I was, you know, that I could take part of it. And Mark Spoon and also DJ Dark, they were pulling me into this whole development and this whole upsurge of ideas and sounds and whatever. And I went to the Dorian Gray not for partying. Actually, I was standing there somewhere like the boring guy who doesn't dance. You look at this guy, you know, he's boring, you know, he's just standing there. And I was listening and I was just experiencing and watching the people, what would work on them, you know, trying to analyze the moment and, you know, use this to make my own tracks. And yeah, that was really a very, very special time. And I never really, I never could say that after, you know, Dorian Gray closed and that there was something like this again. There was later in the 2000er years, there was another club in Frankfurt that was very influential. It's called the U6300, U60, I think it was called, however. Okay. And there was Chris Liebing inventing the Schranz sound, absolutely popular. And so there was another highlight in Frankfurt, and but I think after this things happened somewhere else in the world, not in Frankfurt anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting that sometimes people tend to talk about Berlin all the time when it comes to techno history, but yeah, I think it's interesting to really look at the
Berlin was also quite hot, but I think back at that time, I think Frankfurt was even, you know, taking over. And but it's not about, you know, you know, we did more something like Berlin or London or anything. You know, there's some, the time was right, and it happened in Frankfurt for some reason. Could have also happened in Hamburg or wherever else. You know, if the spirits of those peoples would have gotten together. And I think, I mean, you in Zurich, I mean, you had Yellow, or you have Yellow. I mean, we remixed Yellow. They were so innovative. They were just like, you know, they were the guiding lights for so many other producers and musicians. I mean, they two geniuses collaborated. What else can you have? I mean,
And today we drink some wine from Dieter.
Yeah, that's a very good moment to open and pop up a bottle, I think.
Yes. All right. Okay. So Alan, was that enough for the start, and you can continue, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, because Dorian Gray actually changed my life twice.
Oh.
And it was, yeah, but like I said before, you know, with the when I was doing the hip hop, we actually had a gig in the Frankfurt Music Hall with the hip hop. I think it was something that Moses Pelham had organized, and we were invited to do our hip hop thing there. And then after all that was finished, we ended up going to Dorian Gray, and that was it. It just, you know, and it was Thorsten Fensler was DJing, and Dag was on the decks, and that was it. You couldn't get me out of there. I was in there, and it was like the music just pulled you in, and it pulled you into a trance, you know. And all the other guys that were with me there, they wanted to go home, so I said, "Look, go home."
Yeah, Alan, I want to add something. What you said, that everybody was in a trance. This was exactly what I was experiencing there. That people were going on dancing for hours and hours. And I remember an interview from Eberhard Schöner, who was or is a German composer, and also worked with some members of the police and other musicians, and he was also composing film and TV music. And he recorded a record in Bali with strong influences of gamelan. And he was reporting about, you know, people falling into a trance when they were dancing for like 2 days on a festival, you know, on a spiritual, religious, or maybe just a spiritual festival. And I thought that, and he said, you know, something like this is deeply rooted inside, you know, mankind, you know, this search for extending the limits, or even, you know, tearing down the limits, and having a spiritual or like a whatever experience, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of people trying to achieve that through drugs, which may work for some time, but you know, with you know, some disadvantages that we all know. But you know, and the name Dancer Trance was really also born there because of this experience, because of this phenomenon.
Yeah.
And I think also me DJing now, and I think when I really have a good night, then I see the people like going on, and there is like a vibe that connects everyone in the room. And there's no one who's standing aside, you know, everyone has the same vibe. And I think then you really did your job as a DJ quite well, I think.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing that you got in Dorian Gray, you know, and it was when Dag was playing, you know, and Dag was, you know, playing all this kind of sort of Indian influenced trance music at the time, and it just pulled me in, you know, and it was like, that's it, that's the music I want to make, and you know, and then seeing the how the people were reacting to it, and how the people were reacting to the DJ as well, was just, you know, it was phenomenal. So I had 2 goals then. The first goal was to produce that kind of music, And the second goal was, I want to DJ in Dorian Gray, you know. And what, about 9 years after my first encounter in Gray, Dorian Gray changed my life the second time. And that was when Tala was I was DJing in a club where Tala and Talha we had them there sort of once a month. And then Tala asked me if I wanted to DJ in Dorian Gray, you know, just for one night. And I was like, oh, what? Yes. So I went there, and it was unbelievable. And he actually made me do my set on the old Torrens decks, which was absolutely brilliant. And then a couple of months later, he then asked me, and I just couldn't believe it. He asked me if I wanted to become a resident in Dorian Gray. So that was it. That was a dream. You know, two of my dreams became reality, and that was to produce trance music and to DJ in Dorian Gray. But the effect that Dorian Gray had on my career was massive. You know, because I started getting bookings everywhere. You know, once you'd started in Dorian Gray, that was it. You know, so yeah, that was quite life-changing. And there's two other people that are well, three people that I'm grateful for that, and that's a guy called Olaf Luberger, who actually, he was the guy that actually gave me my first chance to DJ in South Germany, and it was in a little club called Jailhouse. And then after that, we created the legendary Reactor Club in South Germany. And then Ingo Kunze, Ayla Tandu, he was extremely supportive, especially for my producing side of things. I learned so much from him, and actually met Ingo when he was they were doing a live gig with Intrance at the time, because Intrance Kero Puta, it was one of the first sort of techno electronic music, dance music tracks to go into the charts, together with what was it, Open Your Mind, I think it was. So, and it was Tandu that actually got me to move from North Germany down to Stuttgart area, because the Stuttgart area had an awesome scene as well. You know, you had people like Marco Safarano and all these kind of guys down there, which was quite a strong influence as well. But I was always drawn to the Frankfurt scene. I don't know why. It was just, for me, the whole Frankfurt thing was just, the scene was incredible, because the people were incredible, you know. And then you have all these characters coming out of Frankfurt as well. Talha, the showman, you know, he's, even today, I actually watched one of his live streams just a couple of days ago, and he's still the same eccentric guy, you know, and still puts a lot of thought into the outfits that he wears, and you know, and that's the kind of thing that influenced me, you know, seeing these kind of people. I never wanted to be like Talha, because Talha, he's a one-off, you know, he's just a crazy guy. But just to be part of that for me was just an amazing time. It really was, and it really is. It's all Dorian Gray is the biggest influence for me for that part. Yeah.
Probably also what Wolf said, right? Like, if we get inspired by from these people as well, so it's the kind of vibe you get, and probably also, I mean, yeah.
I mean, Talha, he started his career going into clubs wearing a diving suit.
Yes.
Yeah, so crazy times.
By the way, we have a question I saw from Scott. I don't know which question it is. It just says, I'd like to ask a question to Rolf, please. Please do so. Just unmute yourself. I don't know where you are. Ah, here, I can see you. Scott, are you there? No? Okay, maybe not.
No.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
All right. We have a couple of, sorry, he put his question in the chat, but yeah, maybe we can come to that later. Gaby, are you there? Yes, you are. I see you. You have to unmute yourself. I saw you put 3 questions, right? Oh, you something we can't hear you. I can read the question for you if you want. Yes, okay. All right, the first one. As a producer, are you also do you never listen to lyrics and always listen to the song melodies and later on maybe the lyrics? Not sure if I got that right. As a producer, do you never listen to lyrics and always listen to the song melodies and later maybe the lyrics? I'm not sure if you guys don't work with lyrics that much, I think.
No, not really. Not too much with lyrics. But from different genre point of view, because I don't listen to this kind of the music that I produce. I don't listen to it privately. I listen to other types of music, stuff like Coldplay and that sort of stuff. And lyrics are extremely important. But it all depends on the genre of music.
Absolutely, yes. I agree. It really depends on what kind of music you do. But in German Spoon, we worked with lyrics as well.
Yes.
And of course, you always try to do something that is has a good punchline, a good idea, like nice metaphors and associations. And it's not that like you probably would guess that you listen to the music first and the music, the lyrics are not that important. The lyrics are sometimes more important than the music. When you have like a good punchline and like a very, very strong idea, you can build music around it. And I think especially in America or in the English speaking countries, then I think the lyrics are even much, much more important than in German, because in Germany, for example, I can't talk for Switzerland or Austria, but in Germany, too many people would really understand what's going on in the lyrics. But it changes now since the youth is much more familiar with English. But most of the people are just listening to the sound and how they sing, and they can't really get the sense immediately. So maybe some
pay attention to it. That's what I found very surprising. I mean, how can you possibly listen to a track and not paying attention to the lyrics? I mean, to me, that's kind of happens automatically, right? And I think even if it's an electronic music track, I automatically think that there is a purpose, like there is a meaning, and the artist put the lyrics on purpose and consciously. So I have to understand what it is about. How did you work with that with German Spoon? How did you write the lyrics, or did you get them like together, or how did you get the ideas of that? Or?
In our case, it was just like that we never really wrote the lyrics. Maybe we had some ideas, that we gave to the lyricist, but it was actually a guy, his name is Nosy Katzmann.
Yes.
Oh, there's some people are like, we know him. And he's back at that time, he was super successful with his work, with I think any act that would be successful back at that time. He was like the sure shot for a major hit, and he was writing actually most of the German Spoon lyrics. Right in the Night, Kaleidoscopes, Guys, and many others, and also all these all these other projects, Culture Beat, and I don't know, Captain Hollywood and whatever, these European dance things where, you know, that he was always involved and delivered the lyrics. And he was really a genius back in that time. And the funny thing is that he never really came from electronic music or from Schlager or some pop music. He actually, his passion was always folk music, like American folk music, and his melodies and his lyric ideas are deeply rooted in folk music, believe it or not. And
Yeah.
he was working with a small cassette player, and his guitar, and he was spontaneously recording everything, and then he was sorting out, and he still does it that way. And yeah, I don't know how million records he sold with that, but
And did you get him, like, did you give him a general idea of the topic and then he started to write?
But
or?
sometimes we just gave him a playback, and later on I worked with Ray Garvey, and he was I had some kind of a melody idea, and I had, you know, some ideas about phonemes and stuff, and I would like play this melody to him, and he was immediately inventing some lyrics and altering the melody so it would suit well to a singer. And that was also very, very interesting and very fruitful work. And sometimes with Plavka, and, you know, Plavka, the main singer of German Spoon, and she also did some lyrics, and you know, so some nice tracks we did with her as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. You probably can't answer that, but is it all together, or do you have the lyrics first and then you get the whole track around that, or what comes first?
That depends, actually. I think if you are like a true songwriter, I think more or less it happens at the same time. I mean, if you sit there with your guitar, and if you are like a natural musician, I think you get the idea, pick up your guitar, or you sit at the piano, play, and you know, ideas and words will come, you know, in the right moment. And me, actually, I never really would dare to write lyrics because I'm too much afraid of saying something stupid in English, you know. It's not my mother tongue, so I'm a little bit afraid, you know, that I would like do something really, really stupid. And but sometimes I have some ideas and I give it to the writer, and sometimes they pick it up, and sometimes they say, "Oh, go home. I do my own thing."
Yeah, but that's kind of different from a musician playing his guitar, as you said, when the person writing the lyrics is the same person playing the guitar, right? I mean, with you, it's a bit different when you have to put it together in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm more of a instrumentalist or a producer, you know, who just tries to make the piece happen and finalize it. And also I try to, of course, getting myself involved into the composition process. If I think something doesn't sound right to my ears, you know, maybe the melody is a bit odd or something, you know, oddity can be good, but sometimes, you know, it can be like something that doesn't really work, you know, in a musical way. But that's very much down to every individual musicianhood. But you know, I'm simply try to get myself involved, but I'm not the guy who's you know, sits on the piano, starts to sing and writes the lyrics. You know, I'm not a singer-songwriter. No,
give it a try.
But me singing is not a good idea. You know.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's damage to the ears.
Okay, thank you. Second question: what do you like most, DJing in a club or an evening in the studio? That's difficult.
Tough question.
Can I start with that?
Yes, of course you can.
Yeah.
For me, both of it, it's a different thing. So playing in a club for the peoples and have some party with them, or working in the studio, it's completely different for me.
And
I
there's
love it.
no good or bad about it, or like better or
No,
enjoyable. Yeah.
no,
Okay.
it's completely different. When I work in my own music, yeah, it's something like, yes, it's my hobby, my how to say that, what I need for my life, apart from my job, for relaxing or make something like art, or yeah, like I do too some covers, or this what I do for shiny people. For you, some sorry,
the live streams, you mean? Or
no, I mean this cover arts.
so
for,
yeah.
yeah, it's that what I need for apart from my job. And when I go to clubs to play there as a DJ, it's something different. I love it, but it's not so important for me like my studio.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to mention that the funny thing is, in these days, you can't really, I think maybe there may be a few exceptions, but if you want to make it as a DJ, you have to produce. There's no other way really to get out into the clubs and booked in festivals and touring. You have to, you know, create some kind of a sonic signature to your sound. And this is, I think, the preparatory step before you are allowed to go on stage, which is very interesting, I think, because back in the days when Mark Spoon and DJ Dark began, they really worked as residents, and because like Alan was saying, when you were playing at the Dorian Gray, you would be booked like anywhere, and this is not true, I think, anymore. Maybe for a couple of clubs, maybe Berghain, but I'm not sure about this either. You have to produce these days. You have to go into the studio and release tracks. Otherwise, you are not in the loop.
Yeah, and people don't know your name because it's too many, right? I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for you, it was kind of the other way around, right? I mean, you first were into production, and then.
Yeah, with me it's an exception because I got this reputation with Jam and Spoon, Storm, and Dance Trance, all these things that happened in the 90s and what we were able to create. But if I would have started now, especially in my age, now I started DJing like when I was beyond the 50s, and no one would really be interested in like a grandpa DJing, maybe some weird people. I don't know. But because of this, I was invited to play mostly on stages where they wanted to hear the retro sound from the 90s, which is okay, but nobody really would be interested. So I'm a special case. But back in that time when Mark was playing, I was happy that I didn't have to do this job because there was a lot of competition, and I don't like that. It's like I want to concentrate on the music, and I didn't want to grab your record on Friday because the other before the others would grab the record away from you. This is I remember there were a few record shops in Frankfurt, and they were like, and the DJs had like little storages, and one was marked with Mark Spoon, DJ Dark, Sven Feth. And DJ Dark was like 3 records, Mark Spoon was 5 records, and Sven Feth was 15 records. you know, you could see like what was going on there, and I was so happy that I didn't have to, you know, fight for these records, you know. And sometimes one DJ would buy all the available records from a new release, just that the others would not be able to get it. You know, that it would be the first and the most exclusive DJ to play this record, and I think it's really funny. And today, I think it's still a little bit the same, but mostly, you know, you can get it anywhere. You know, these tracks, if you are a little bit smart in going into the net and trying to find it. But yeah, this is, and so what was the point that I wanted to say? I'm just blah-blahing for myself. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, you make a point. You actually, yeah, maybe coming back to the thing that you have to produce if you want to DJ. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Gaby, can you hear us now, or can
Yeah.
can we?
I think you can hear me all.
Yes, you have a third one.
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Yeah,
Gaby.
my third question was what I noticed here in Holland, in Amsterdam, and everywhere else globally. All the DJs and producers are still on top of the game, and the younger kids come and go. They disappear. There's another guy coming up, plays his style and disappears again. But the older generation of DJs, producers are still going on with the flow and still are doing their thing. Do you think it's because of we were there in the beginning of the whole scene, or what should be the explanation of it?
I think it's, for me, I think it's because we really do have a passion for the music, you know, and I do see, I think, you know, I don't like putting people into different drawers and things like this.
No.
And I don't like to generalize as well, but I just kind of get the feeling today that, you know, most DJs, they want to be DJs for the wrong reason. You know, they want to be DJs because they want to be popular. Yeah. Whereas I think when we all started, it was a passion for music. And if you have a passion for something, then you never lose that passion. It never goes away, you know, and in fact, it actually gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think that's part of the reason why, you know, the older generation are still going strong, and why the younger generation, you know, they'll have a peak and then they'll drop off and you'll never hear anything from them again. Yeah, I think for me, it's down to the passion about the music, you know, and the reasons for getting into DJing or producing in the first place. Yeah, that's just, for me, that's the way I see it.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, so I think that's a good explanation. Passion talk, so we are the right. No, yeah. I think it's also because of passion, and yeah, we see it with some younger kids. They have passion, but some of them are there for the wrong reason, to be the DJ, because it's the new fireman. If we were young, when we were younger, we want to be a fireman, or I don't know,
astronaut.
Astronaut, yeah. And now everybody wants to be a DJ. So I think that's also a thing.
I want to add something to this. I really like the answer from Allan, by the way. I think he really nailed it with it. And what you should not forget, he said something like, it makes you stronger after all these years. And it's true, because your skills getting better and better. You have all the experiences, especially when old trends pumping up again. And you know already the feeling, you know already how to create this kind of music. Yeah, and you gain a lot from this. And then also, although you have a computer and it's much easier to produce a complete track nowadays, still you need to have a lot of experience to handle everything. An arrangement, to create a sound, to create interesting things. It's still not done within a year or two. And so many of the young kids work with ghost producers, and then they have not a real core and a real authentic feel in their music, because they change every now and then, the ghost producer probably. And so it's really hard to create a trademark of yourself, an image and an authentic feel of your music. And this is a long way to go. And this is also an explanation why older people still relevant, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it's easier to make music than it was in the early days. You need to buy a lot of hardware.
Expensive hardware.
Expensive hardware, and nowadays it's easier to craft music or make music. So yeah.
But I think in Rolf's case, that this is a compliment for you, that the music that you were doing in the 90s is, if people didn't know about that music, you could re-release it again today and it would still be completely relevant. So so you really are one of the big influences that actually did do a style of music that's still very relevant today. Because I was actually going to ask you, but you've already answered it, was what made you move then from going out of the studio and then into doing DJ sets? Because I've done the opposite. I kind of sort of stopped DJing and then started concentrating more on working in the studio.
Well, the reason why I started DJing was actually because I was asked to play for the Nature One retro stage, a live set, German Spoon live set, which I said, which is obviously not very easy, because most of the stuff was lost on some corrupted magneto-optical discs, that just don't work anymore. And a lot of sounds, a lot of vocal sessions, are just buried in those media, and you can't really recover them. That's really a sad story. And so what could I do? I worked with the material that I had, that I could recover actually, and I played a DJ set, so it was like half and half. But it was beside of the gig that I had on the Love Parade in 2006. It was really the first gig that I had in front of people, and it completely blew me away. This energy and this fascination that you could implant into the people for the moment, and the energy and this togetherness, this inclusiveness that you could create when you with music. Actually, I think and I was like, wow, this is something that Mark was always talking about back in the days. He always said, please come and watch the people, see and experience what your music that we do is doing for the people, and you never come with us, and I had good reasons why I never wanted to come with me, because it always would end up excessively with Mark Spoon. So,
yeah, I've had a couple of experiences with Mark as well, so
you can tell. And so after this was quite was a great booking, playing on the Nature One. I mean, who could say that I started a career like this, on a major rave festival? And so bookings came, it was like 2 bookings like a year, then it was like 3. And then I decided, I think like 5 years ago, so I decided, okay, I want to make this really seriously. And then I got more and more into it. And now I think I would like to spend my life on stage playing for the people. It's maybe even more than spending time in the studio, to be honest. I just enjoy playing in front of the people. When I was a guitarist, I had so much Lampenfieber. What do you say? What is this? What is the expression, Alan, for Lampenfieber?
Nervous, stage fright.
Yeah,
Stage
exactly.
fright.
And
Yeah.
I never felt really comfortable on stage. But you know, in these days, you have really to hold me back. You know, just walking on the stage and be, you know, starting. And this is funny, really, that I. But you know, I think yeah, this is a very interesting kind of change in my musicianhood. You know, that I from being an instrumentalist, becoming someone who sequences others, music from others, and make a whole new kind of collage with it. You know,
Right.
I think that's fascinating.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe Rolf, I can add the question Scott had and for you, maybe because it kind of fits the topic. He would like to ask, why do you think that the late 90s, early 2000s tracks like Stella or Odyssey to Anjuna, in your case, still have more lasting effect than later tracks? Or earlier tracks? And do you think the equipment that was being used at the time had a big effect on the quality of the music? Or do you think that the period in time and social aspect had the bigger effect on the staying power of it? So was it the track itself or social aspects, people?
Tough question.
I was actually thinking a lot of times about this, and actually I can't really explain. I think probably it was because we had the blessing that we were able to create something that wasn't there before. And for some reason we hit some expression or some groove or some energy that was unique back at that time, that everybody could agree on. And I wouldn't say it was the equipment. The equipment was actually not as smart as it is these days. I think was much more primitive, you know, the sequences. And you know, I was working on an Atari. My most important, or my most successful tracks were created on an Atari computer. And of course we had good equipment, but it was not the top equipment back at that time. It was something okay, but it wasn't like the top-notch equipment. So I think it was just because we were there at the right place at the right time. Because there's really
something. I mean, you really you did something, as you said, you created something new as well.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that we did it just we thought it was right. You know, there was no let's do something great. Let's invent the music in a completely new way. No, we were just hanging out in the studio, and Mark Spoon often was like 2, 3, 4 hours late, and by that time I already had some kind of scratches and sketches, not scratches, sketches, and so I played it to him, and he was like, sounds okay, let's go on with this. And you know, then we were completing it, and it was like boom. So all of a sudden, you know, people were picking it up, and yeah, well, it was just like it just happened. There was no strategy, no marketing campaign or anything like this. It was just out of the sheer moment, something we were able to create. And I think this is the difference maybe to these days, where you had like maybe, I don't know, 20,000 followers on Facebook, then 47,000 followers on Instagram, and before this you haven't reached, you are nothing, you know, more or less. And I think today this is all about marketing and how you place and when you post and how is the looks, you know, people looking at your site and first check how many follows do you have, and then they say, check the looks, and they say, oh, it looks fuzzy, you know, this guy must be crazy or something. And it's not interesting, you know, there's no marketing idea behind or anything. But, you know, back at that time, we didn't have more like just what we had to offer, that was music, you know, a piece of, like a record, you know, that we were happy to make. And, you know, maybe it was just, maybe it wasn't just more rock and roll. I don't know.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, nice, thank you. Yeah, the last question I saw was, yeah, it's kind of Gaby as well, I think. Well, not too much, I guess. Gaby asks which clubs are still left in Frankfurt and where to go. Well, if they were open now.
Yeah, well, because you talked about Dorian Gray and all the clubs, they were legendary clubs when we were in Amsterdam, going to the Roxy, Matzo, and those names were still legendary names. But how's the club scene still going on in Frankfurt?
Yeah, so the question, I'm a little bit confused now. The question was like, if there, where to go now?
What are the clubs that are like in the Dorian Gray days?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there is actually no club really like the Dorian Gray left. There is one club that still works very well and plays, you know, the music, style of music that I like very much. That is Tanzhaus West, and the others are more like hip hop, or, you know, a mixture of everything, you know, like a variety of sound, you know, that they would play was simply is on at the moment. But there is no, I wouldn't dare to say that Frankfurt has a club scene anymore. It's happening somewhere else. It's not happening in Frankfurt anymore. You know, if you go to Stuttgart, it's much more interesting. If you go to Munich, it might be also still more interesting, or Berlin, of course. I mean, Berlin has a big variety of amazing clubs, and but Frankfurt is actually dormant. There's nothing really going on.
It's a Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson and Tanzhaus West are the only two techno clubs left.
Yeah, thank you very much. Robert Johnson, of course, is was very important for a long time, and probably is still. Yeah. But Frankfurt doesn't have really that important impact anymore, I think, from the club scene, I think.
Rolf, we're working on to make it happen.
Yes.
Oh, let's make it happen.
Yeah, okay. Everything's happening at home now.
Bring some magic back to it.
Yeah, maybe this is the point where we can look into the future a little bit. Maybe I'm just so impressed about your releases all the time. Allan, I think you have a release coming next week, right?
Yeah, but it's actually a release of my old 90s trance tracks. Mm-hmm. So it's a 4-track EP. I think 23rd of March, and it's basically the 4 tracks that I've done on 2 labels with Tala. On 2 of the tracks were on Techno Club, and the other 2 tracks were on Future Records. So I've decided to release them again, because actually last year I released my old Highlander stuff, and it actually came quite popular on Spotify. I couldn't believe it in America. The amount of streams I'm getting in America for 90s trance stuff is just unbelievable. So yeah, I just kind of sort of started off now my own little label where I'm just, you know, I'm releasing old stuff, but also new stuff that I don't want to give anywhere else. So I'll release that on my label. So yeah, that's kind of the plan that I've got for the future, and I might try and get back into DJing again, because for me the whole lockdown situation has actually given me the passion back for DJing. You actually see now I do every Friday now. I've been doing the live living room sessions, and it's given me something back now again. You know, doing music for people, and also thanks to Shiny People as well. You give me a couple of opportunities to DJ on Shiny People, and it really has. It's sparked it all off inside me again. So let's see what happens there. You know, so yeah, I'm positive about the future. Really positive. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful, positive thing you take out of this weird situation. I like
yeah,
that.
it's a really weird situation, but it has. But I guess it's just the way you think about the situation. You know, if you're too negative about the whole situation, then you will, you know, nothing positive will come out of it. But you know, doing the live stream thing, you know, it's like, even if only one person is logged in listening to me, I'll carry on playing because I know I'm making somebody happy. Yeah, and knowing that I'm making somebody happy actually makes me happy as well. So it's a kind of a sort of a win-win situation. So yeah, that has, because I haven't, you know, I stopped DJing quite a long time ago actually, and but I would still DJ sort of maybe once a year at sort of special events and stuff like that. But I just didn't really want to go back into the whole club thing. And I don't know if I want to do it in the future either. I just know that I've got the passion again for the DJing. It's back again. It's there. It's burning inside. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
I keep that in mind, trust me. There will be the time we'll be dancing again. So.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I can't dance. I'm probably as good at dancing as Rolf is at singing.
Do the trumpet you play.
I've got 2 left feet. I can only turn in circles.
And something I just want to tell you, I love your track, This Is Now. I just have to tell you today.
Oh, thanks.
I listened to it up and down, really, I love it. And also Effect Remix, of course. I love both, but it's so beautiful. Really.
I actually prefer Bruno's mix. I think Bruno done a better job of it than I did.
No, really, it's such a flowy kind of, yeah. Really
I'm still waiting on a remix from Bruno and from Michi.
Yeah, no, I know.
I was going to ask, yeah, Michi about his studio work at the moment.
Yes, at the moment I'm changing my system.
Mm-hmm.
I changed my system from the Mac to the PC, and so I have to change the DAW too, from Logic to Cubase, and I have to learn a lot. Mm-hmm. Last weekend Bruno was in my studio and gave me some lessons. But yeah, I'm looking forward for producing with Cubase. Mm-hmm. I think I know something to handle it, but I have to learn.
There's nothing in the pipeline at the moment.
It is. I have to produce one remix for Roy Malloy from Netherlands and one for Allan, together with Bruno. Thank you, Allan. Thank you. I'm very looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
Me too. Okay. Yeah. Then Rolf, speaking about the influence of the what did you say, Allan? 90s? It's kind of interesting because you just I can't remember when it came out. The Waveform of Existence, your release.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. Just today I spoke with Frank about the track, and he said something like, "What did you say, Frank? Like it seems to be inspired or have a vibe kind of."
No, I said like it's a long time ago that I heard some vibes and feelings which remind me on your really early stages when you created Stellar and all these sounds. Mm-hmm. There's something in this chord pad which is really like remind me to Helium nights in Frankfurt when they blasted your music out of the speakers.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, actually I'm I'm really trying hard to find my own style again, after being in different kind of styles and not really going back and forth. And it's great when you say that. But of course, at the same time, also, I don't want to really orientate myself from the past. I always try to, because mind is always like where the past is stored. So I still try to be innovative and to find something new. But the problem is that, of course, you want to play your own music in front of the people, and there are some certain parameters that you have to fulfill to make a track work. And so this is always like a going beyond this limits and maybe, but still making it compatible. But I'm happy, that you like it, of course, because yeah. Is it the waveform of existence, or is it this what was the other title called? I don't even know my tracks anymore.
Sorry, maybe I got it wrong.
Night Skies, probably it's that one. Or is it the waveform of existence? Yeah. Anyway, check it out. Check it out on the streaming platforms or on Beatport and yeah. And
yes, please do, everybody. Yes. There's
course, in return, we have to give Frank Aces some cheers, because there's actually a #1 in Beatport. Bravo, well done. I'm really envy this track. I think this track is fantastic.
You didn't check today. Today it was falling from 1 to 2.
Oh my God. Catastrophe. Tomorrow it will be #1 again.
I hope.
I will buy one.
Okay.
I'll buy it again as well.
Thank you, Allan.
But, no, I think this track is absolutely brilliant. Some of the best I've heard in years, to be honest, really.
Oh, come on.
No. I'm not exaggerating. You know that I really envy this track.
Yeah, you told me.
Never envying anybody.
No.
How's this, guys? Maybe the two of you should do something together.
Oh, well, maybe. I don't know.
Yes.
We worked on it already, but
yes.
and
we didn't finish something, but we need to find the right the right time and the right medium to throw it out.
But
we will.
Beautiful.
Olivia, you know me, it always takes time with my production.
Of course, I'll be patient. Okay, nice. There's
timeless.
Yeah.
There's a final question I'd like to address. Does anyone think there will be a club scene in the future, or has the current situation possibly shifted everything online for the foreseeable future? I'd like to answer that question, if I may. Yes, there will be a club scene. No, maybe we can answer the question with the words Lemonade said the other day in a passion talk, the last one. I liked that a lot, that it would be unnatural if there wasn't any kind of music, sharing music, experience music. Of course, the club scene as we know it, with the very big clubs and everything, we don't know when this might be coming back, but maybe we can start small and just enjoy what we can do. I strongly believe in that. Otherwise, yeah, I don't like this negative, pessimistic approach. So I'd rather be a bit more optimistic and looking for a brighter future than, yeah. Don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I remember that discussion with Lemonade the last time. And it's true what he says, because we're born to move. We're born to dance.
Yeah.
There's always been rhythm, so.
There will always be dance, as long as mankind exists, there will be dance, It's expression of our life. It's an expression of our being. And so.
All I can say is just try and stop us.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything you want you'd like to add? Maybe a message to everybody, or what do you think?
Stay
I would
positive.
like to say something. I'm absolutely impressed by you, Rolf and Alan. What about your history? So when I was I think 12 or 13 years, I was listening to German Spoon tracks like what was Kaleidoscope Skies, I think. Yes.
I was more pop orientated. That was
Yes,
my-
right. Yes, but I liked it then.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit before I learned to love the electronic music. Yes,
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, you inspired a lot of people. Somebody, Trevor, he left earlier. He also wrote in the chat that it was one of the reasons he got interested in dance music. So well done.
I'm actually just surprised that my brother did, because my brother was actually going to log in this evening because he's a huge German Spoon fan. So, but he hasn't logged in, so
he can watch it later. So that's yeah.
Actually, I maybe like to mention that once I was playing in Glasgow in a very small club, and there was this guy Mallorca Lee who was inviting me. You know him?
yeah.
And you know, this I think that was maybe the craziest gig I've ever had. I've never had I never saw a crowd celebrating as much as they did. It was absolutely, you think, you know, if you go up more north, you know, the people are getting more like introverted or something, but that's not true for Scotland.
It's not true in Scotland, no.
True for Northern Ireland too.
Yeah.
And when you go up Scotland and you have a gig in Glasgow, be prepared. This is going to be like an explosion.
Yeah, they are pretty crazy people.
Yeah, really crazy people. And the funny thing was, I was playing, and the crowd was yelling, you know, and I was talking to locally, and was what are they saying? Do they like it? Yeah, go on. They're just saying, here we fucking go. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, the Scots, they do take it to the limits.
Yeah, they really know how to party.
Yeah, certainly do. Oh.
Okay, so we have stay positive, and what do the others wish or have to say to the others? Any message? No?
Keep listening to music and keep buying music.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it's important.
Yeah. Support the artists.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay.
Keep on streaming.
Yes.
Yeah, just share the love.
That's actually that's quite catchy. That years ago we used to say "keep on dreaming," and now it's "keep on streaming."
Yes.
Okay, so then thank you very much, everybody. It was very interesting, and I wish you all the very best. Hope to speak soon, and yeah, keep in touch, stay positive.
Thank you, Olivia, for making this happen, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Olivia. Yeah.
Thank you. Really, really nice. I mean, it's always very nice. You all know that you're creative people, but to me, it's very nice if you have an idea and you like the idea and you have people joining and kind of sharing this thought of connecting. It's really nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon live, everybody. Okay.
It will happen.
But you're more than welcome to come and visit me in the studio.
Cool.
Yeah, you're not so far away, actually.
Exactly.
That's so true. I keep forgetting. Yeah, right. Yeah, we had so much country mixing here, like Switzerland, Germany, but then Scotland. And Rolf, you had a lot of experiences in the UK as well. So very nice. Okay.
Bye. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Great. Hey,
Bye-bye.
thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.